Foreshadowing in storytelling is not only a handy way to make a narrative feel like it had a lot of work put into it in terms of planning, but it's also a way to reward an audience that is paying attention. And depending on how it's handled can really impact an audience's interaction with a story. Sometimes it can be annoying if a show is being really obvious, and thus it makes the characters look dumb for not realizing what's happening. Sometimes the foreshadowing is so subtle that you don't really get a full appreciation for it until you experience the story for a second time. And sometimes foreshadowing is done in an obviously sneaky way, like with codes and messages that spark something in the theorists of the world. They go nuts trying to figure out what it means. But this style of foreshadowing can also lead to anticipation. These two writing tools can be used really well together, but they don't always have to lead into each other. Like I said, sometimes the foreshadowing is subtle, so it can't really build up any anticipation. At least, not until the end, or if the evidence is becoming harder and harder to ignore. Like a crescendo of hints, if you will. But these tools can be used to highlight each other in contrast. After all, foreshadowing is all about hindsight, and anticipation is all about foresight. If you spend all of your time focusing on getting answers about character A, you might miss all the signs that point towards character B. Bee and Puppycat Season 1 does a really great job of setting up and executing this exact example. In the pilot episode, we get to see that Puppycat is actually a space outlaw who was turned into a monster, for tragic backstory reasons. And then we don't get a further explanation or insights into this for the rest of the season. Instead, we follow Bee and Puppycat, who go on various adventures, meet new people, and members of the cast. All the while with little moments sprinkled in that hint towards Bee's true nature. Now, because of the wild adventures that these two go on, and the backstory we get from Puppycat, Bee really does seem like just a normal human person in comparison. So a lot of these little moments get swept aside as just another weird day for Bee, or wow, look at Bee, isn't she so quirky? It's not until the reveal at the end of the season, and a good old rewatch with some perspective, that all of those little moments suddenly click. Now that's how Season 1 handled the foreshadowing and the anticipation. And I'll say it plainly, I think they did a great job. Bee and Puppycat's stories ran so wonderfully parallel to each other before the big reveal, from setup to execution. I love it. Season 2 handles things a little differently because there's less foreshadowing and more just straightforward anticipation. Dream sequence aside. We already know that Bee is a robot and Puppycat is a space outlaw that turned into a monster. Now it's just about watching these two characters grow and hopefully getting some more answers and context for all of that. And we do get some in Puppycat's backstory episode. Since Season 2 ended on a cliffhanger instead of giving more payoff for the show, we don't really get any closure to go along with the previously built-up anticipation, which is a bummer. Honestly, it feels like everywhere I turn there are shows getting canceled. Not to mention there's still strike stuff happening. So it's unlikely we'll get answers to all of our questions anytime soon. There's also no official news on whether or not they'll continue to make Bee and Puppycat episodes, as of me working on this video. But I'd like to think, and dare I say hope, that we'll get something conclusive in the future. Or at least some closure for the big cliffhanger they gave us at the end there. I just really wanted to highlight how well they handled the anticipation and foreshadowing with Bee and Puppycat in Season 1. It was just so well laid out, so well executed, and I really appreciated it. I do have nice things to say about Netflix's episodes, and I will talk about them at some point, but I'm not gonna lie, I was working on that video and then it got really long and I was just like, oh dear god, this month is already like, halfway through, and I just panicked into this instead. Anyway. I just really like this show. And this is just another thing that I like about the show. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely day, and bye!